Welcome to the Wealth Stream Podcast. The team at Hightower Great Lakes share their insights and passions for empowering their clients to live their best life. In this energetic podcast, we will take you on a journey to help you navigate your financial future, overcome life's challenges to reach your financial goals, and find the financial clarity you've been searching for. Let's explore the downstream impact of your wealth and what it means to you, your family, and your community to live greater.
Hello and welcome to the Wealth Stream with Tim Scannell from Hightower Great Lakes. Tim, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm up in Traverse City, Michigan at our office up here, and it's a beautiful day, so no complaints at all.
Nice. Up in Michigan. Yeah, well, I love Michigan. I haven't been there a ton, but I've 4 or 5 times I've been there. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of trees, and there's definitely nothing prettier than trees up here. I love Michigan.
Oh, that's fantastic. So what are you doing up there?
Well, I'm actually with my partner, business partner here, Don Stellin, and we're going to be talking today about fiduciaries. You know what? Because I think a lot of times our industry doesn't really explain it well. That is, I think, a very powerful differentiation for us. Like why I think we add value to clients because we operate as fiduciaries. We choose to. So I thought I'd bring Don on to kind of talk about his perspective on fiduciaries and why it's important to use them.
Yeah, I love this that you're addressing it because more and more lately, Tim, and this is just from an outside perspective, I notice that people that are fiduciaries are quite proud of that. And that's something that they want to highlight, which they should, because you guys will get into the discussion today because I'm well versed in what a fiduciary is. However, on the flip side of that coin, you'll see, or at least I've noticed, people that aren't fiduciaries try to downplay it as though it's not that important. And it's like, really? Are you sure about that? But yeah, as you get into it today, I think the audience is going to learn quite a bit and they're going to understand why it is extremely important to know that your advisor, whoever that is a fiduciary.
Absolutely.
All right.
And as you know, because we've done many podcasts, over 100, and, one of the things that's on our agendas with all of our client meetings is, our mission, where we really strive to deliver proactive, objective advice, solutions for our clients. And I guess as I mentioned a minute ago, like, I think one of our value promise to our clients is really that, we're choosing to operate as fiduciaries for our clients. I mean, it is a choice. It requires additional levels of certification, continuing education, compliance, et cetera. But we just believe strongly that that's the way to do it. So I thought I would, without further ado, I don't think I mentioned this, but Don was a guest of our podcast in episode 71. So that was more of a introduction to Don, get to know Don. And towards the end of this, I'd like to catch up and see kind of what's new, what Don's thinking about the business, et cetera. It's been a difficult market this year and last year, so we thought we'd catch up on that. But I guess, first of all, I would just pass it to you, Don, real quickly and just say, maybe give us a little background, give the listener a little background on who you are, where you've come from, and kind of what you're doing now.
Thanks, Tim. It's great to be here today and good to have you up here. So I've got over 22 years of experience in the industry and came to Hightower, joined our team in September of 2011. So one of the things that motivated me to come over and work with a registered investment advisory was the opportunity to serve as a fiduciary for my clients. At my prior firms, I was not able to do so. We were held to a different standard called the suitability standard, which we'll talk about later. But here at Hightower, we're able to serve as fiduciaries, and I felt that was very, very beneficial thing for my clients. As you mentioned, wanted the opportunity to offer unbiased, objective advice for our clients.
Well, let's kind of jump around a little bit because you did mention suitability standard versus like fiduciary standard. And I guess that's one of the questions I get when I meet with, CPAs, attorneys, clients, leads, et cetera, people wanting to work with us. They sometimes think that the suitability standard is what we're following. So maybe just give a little background, if you could, as to what is the suitability standard that you were following prior to joining Hightower, and how does it really compare to what you do now?
Right. So the suitability standard really permits an advisor to recommend any product that would be suitable for someone in a similar situation. And that doesn't hold the legal standard that fiduciary does. So it's one of the analogies is the dietitian versus the butcher, and the butcher will sell you a suitable cut of meat, whereas the dietitian will look at your labs, they'll look at your blood work, and they will really recommend something that's the most beneficial for your diet. That applies to what we do as well, as you know, and we are unbiased and objective, and we're held to a standard where we have to do what's right for the client in all situations.
So you're saying that if I go to my butcher shop, I'm not going to get tofu or fish?
Well, you might get fish,
Mm-hmm.
but you'll get some type of protein, right? And how you are supposed to eat that, in what ratio you're supposed to eat that. You won't get that from the butcher, but you would get that from a dietitian.
When you talk about a dietitian, I think the analogy you're saying is that they're going to do labs, run tests, do the analysis, and then kind of come up with a plan for you. So how does that equate to, or maybe give an example maybe of a client or somebody that was introduced to the firm recently that you're working with, where you kind of went through that dietitian type process?
Yeah, that's a great point, Tim. So before we even talk about investments with clients, we really go through the planning process. We want to learn about their whole situation, their assets, their liabilities, their financial goals, their dreams. And that way, the more we know, the better advice we can provide in the future. So again, it's all tailored to the client's particular situation.
And I guess like other analogies might be, or are there other analogies to other professionals maybe who operate as fiduciaries? Like I imagine if you are, like I always talk to people about working for Pella windows. Pella windows are great, but they don't necessarily make the best window for every situation. Oftentimes you want to work as more of a general contractor. So do you work with like attorneys or bank trustees, or, I mean, are they similar, would you say, in terms of having the fiduciary standard?
Sure. So yeah, other examples of fiduciaries, like you just mentioned, attorneys, bank trustees, maybe even CPAs as well. So they are advisors in a sense that have to work in the best interest of their clients.
And then I guess from a practical standpoint, when you're actually sitting down with a client and saying over like, what does it mean to you as the client? Maybe an example of, when do you use like custodians, different custodians like Schwab or Fidelity or Pershing or manager selections? How do you go through that process in terms of actually implementing a client's plan?
Well, you just alluded to it. We've got a lot of freedoms here at Hightower. We're multi-custodial, open architecture, open platform. So we have a lot of freedom, and we have a lot of tools available to serve our clients as well as possible. And the multi-custodial aspect is just one example where we can use Schwab, Pershing, or Fidelity, whatever we think is the best fit for the client in their particular situation. And then regarding investment options, we are brand agnostic, you can say. We believe in using the best available, and we believe in reducing fees as much as possible, as you know.
Yeah. And so, and one of the things we do, and we've been doing really since we joined Hightower, was we call it unbundling versus like wrapping the fee. I think the example is if we unbundle it and separate the different parts of the fees, like custodial fees, Fidelity. There was one point in time in the past where Fidelity would charge 8 basis points, and now the way the industry is kind of focused and gone, the Fidelity doesn't charge anymore. And that benefit has accrued directly to the client, not to us. There's also like, I talk to clients about being revenue neutral when recommending investment managers. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So being revenue neutral, we don't make any additional revenue based on what investment solutions we recommend. So again, being brand agnostic, we just believe in using what's the best available. Doesn't matter who that manager is, as long as we believe they are the best in their particular space. So it could be an ETF portfolio, it could be mutual funds, it could be separately managed accounts. So again, we just believe in using whatever is the best available.
And that probably applies, I feel like it applies also when we're doing kind of advanced planning with our clients, when we're doing wealth management or helping them transfer assets to the next generation, or charitable giving. And oftentimes that involves working with other professionals. So this year in particular, I should say towards the end of last year, I was getting a lot of calls from clients and conversations with clients about looking at their CPAs and their attorneys and asking for recommendations. So as a fiduciary, when a client is asking you for a referral because for whatever reason they don't have the professional relationship that they need, how do you approach it from that? And why would like a fiduciary be a little different?
Well, again, we believe we want to make sure that another professional, whether it's an attorney or CPA, is handling our clients the same way we would and providing that level of care, that level of service, working in our clients' best interest at all times. So that's definitely something that we're looking at. And again, we just want them to provide the best advice possible for our clients.
And I guess I've had this question before where I guess clients or people just legitimately think, well, aren't all advisors fiduciaries, right? Don't all advisors follow like a fiduciary model where the client has to be the number one in their mind? How do you address that question when people ask you? I mean, aren't all fiduciaries, are advisors fiduciaries?
That's a good point. And you and Eric alluded to that earlier. There is some confusion and some gray area there where certain brokers may want to downplay the role of a fiduciary. It may be de-emphasize the importance, but again, we are held to the highest legal standard, as you know, and must always work in our clients' best interest. So, we don't have any proprietary products. We don't push products. Again, we're brand agnostic, and it's really all about our planning process versus a broker who may be just looking to sell particular products. They have to sell something that's suitable for the client, but that doesn't hold the same legal standard that a fiduciary standard holds.
And if the listeners are out there trying to determine, if their advisor is a fiduciary or if they're kind of evaluating advisors to see, are there different regulatory like umbrellas, or how can they tell? Are there designations? I mean, do you have designations that, kind of make somebody could see and say, yeah, that person operates as a fiduciary?
That's right. So first of all, we are registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission, and that enables us to serve as fiduciaries for our clients. And then some of us have taken a further step. I've earned the accredited investment fiduciary designation, which is a further commitment to serving as a fiduciary for my clients. And that does involve continuing education on a yearly basis. So that continuing education, always brings up some interesting topics and relevant things current to markets and to serving clients. So we're fully committed to serving as fiduciaries for our clients, and again, maintaining that neutrality and keeping objective advice offered for our clients.
Okay, so if someone's out there, if one of the listeners wants to reach out to talk to you, I guess give them an idea what the process would be. Like, what process do you take them through as far as like being that dietitian, ultimately making the recommendation, and then once their clients going forward? Just what's a typical situation?
Sure. So the first step is that we'll meet with clients. We'll talk. We'll get to know them. We'll get to know each other. They'll get to know us. We will get to know them. We'll ask questions about their financial situation. As I mentioned previously, their assets, their liabilities, what their financial goals are. We do want to know what their financial dreams are, which is related to their goals. But once we look at all of that, then we can come up with a financial plan for them. And then once we have that financial plan, then we can recommend investments that will help them achieve their goals and work toward their goals. And then once we have those investments in place, we'll periodically update their financial plan, and we'll also keep monitoring those investments to make sure everything that they use is still the best available for them and their situation.
Yeah, and from an investment perspective, I know we operate with what we call like legal discretion in our agreements. So where we have the ability to manage, talk about because I know a lot of advisors don't. So if an advisor wants to make a change or recommend a change for a client, they have to make that phone call or they have to call 400 people. So talk a little bit about like discretionary management versus like static or non-discretionary.
Yeah, that's a great point, Tim. So as you mentioned, if we have to contact all of our clients to try to make a change in a portfolio, that can be a very time-consuming process and not very timely at all. So with discretion, if we feel there's a change that needs to be made to a portfolio, we can just go ahead and implement that, which is a lot more timely. And, instead of taking weeks or a month or so, we can implement that immediately. So that helps to protect our clients better.
Yeah. So I always tell clients that based on your risk tolerance, time frame, tax status, any number of goals, etc., we're going to come up with a plan. And we're not going to technically change the plan without talking to you, but we want to be able to have the ability to execute and manage the plan with discretion so that it's more efficient for them, more efficient for us. But certainly if the plan changes, we're going to reach out to them. So beyond being a fiduciary and beyond working here at Hightower Great Lakes, you're as a partner, as an owner, as an advisor. I know you just finished ski season, right? And skiing is a real big thing for you. So tell people what you're kind of up to these days.
I did. So we finished ski season, actually skiing, but now I've got a lot of meetings. I'm involved with U.S. Ski and Snowboard, the national governing body for ski racing in the United States. And I am the chairman of the Central Division, which is basically the whole Midwest. And then I'm also the chair of the Rocky Mountain and Central Division or Central Region Alpine Competition Committee. So in fact, I leave this weekend for some meetings in Park City, the National Congress, and where we have working groups and we'll pass resolutions. So it keeps me busy. It is a year-round thing. Even if we're not on snow, there's still a lot going on. And it's a labor of love. Certainly won't make any wealth working
Sure.
on that. It's all volunteer work, but it's something I'm passionate about and believe in creating opportunities for a lot of athletes in our region.
Yeah, that's a nice thing also about working, I think, with a team like ours, where there's a total of 14 people on the team, and here in Traverse City, Laura, Amy are here constantly. So if you're out on the ski slopes, or if you're, dedicating time to, mentor some of these kids, there's always somebody here who's going to be available to execute, manage the plan going forward.
That's a great point. Our support staff is second to none. Really, really confidence inspiring for us and for our clients. So yeah, if I'm off officiating a ski race on the hill, they can still reach me by phone or email. So it's great to have them here in the office, and they're fantastic.
So if one of the listeners out there wants to work with you as an accredited investment fiduciary with a team of fiduciaries focusing on these processes that we have, how do they get a hold of you? How do they reach out to you?
Sure. So they can reach us on the phone at 231-486-0492, or the email, which is Stellin, Stellin, @hightoweradvisors.com.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate the opportunity.
Hey guys, this is fantastic. I mean, quite honestly, I was sitting here listening. Tim, you and I have had so many discussions about fiduciaries just in brief pieces of different podcasts. Like you said, you've done over 100. But I think you covered it really, really well today. I was listening. Is there anything else the audience needs to know? Is there any question I can ask? And the answer is no. I think you guys did
awesome.
Fantastic. So I know that you gave Don's contact information. Do you want to give your contact information out there as well in case people are in your area and want to reach out to you?
Yeah. So you can always reach me at 219-531-4941, or send me an email at tscannell@hightoweradvisors.com. All
right, gentlemen. Again, thank you so much for everything today. And of course, to you, the listening audience, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the Wealth Stream podcast with Tim Scannell. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Tim comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. And we humbly ask you share this podcast, rate it, and leave a review, as this actually does help others find the show. Again, thanks for listening today. For everyone at Hightower Great Lakes, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Wealth Stream podcast. We hope you gained some valuable insight that you can apply to your life and share with others. Please don't forget to subscribe below to be notified when new episodes become available. And don't forget to live greater. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Hightower Great Lakes. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.
Hightower Great Lakes is a group comprised of investment professionals registered with Hightower Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Some investment professionals may also be registered with Hightower Securities, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services are offered through Hightower Associates, LLC. Securities are offered through Hightower Securities, LLC. This is not an offer to buy or sell securities. No investment process is free of risk, and there is no guarantee that the investment process or the investment opportunities referenced herein will be profitable. Past performance is neither indicative nor a guarantee of future results. The investment opportunities referenced herein may not be suitable for all investors. All data or other information referenced herein is from sources believed to be reliable. Any opinions, news, research, analyses, prices, or other data or information contained in this presentation is provided as general market commentary and does not constitute investment advice. Hightower Great Lakes and Hightower Advisors, LLC, or any of its affiliates, make no representations or warranties express or implied as to the accuracy or completeness of the information, or for statements or errors or omissions or results obtained from the use of this information. Hightower Great Lakes and Hightower Advisors, LLC, assume no liability for any action made or taken in reliance on or relating in any way to this information. The information is provided as of the date referenced in the document. Such data and other information are subject to change without notice. This document was created for informational purposes only. The opinions expressed herein are solely those of the authors and do not represent those of Hightower Advisors, LLC, or any of its affiliates.